do the work of an evangelist, and John did that. Everywhere he went, he was thinking about the lost, trying to get people to understand they need the Lord. He was an evangelist. Paul said, make full proof of thy ministry. And John certainly did that. If you knew John, you knew that he was on the job. He was doing what the Lord had called him to do. And he loved it. He loved it. And Paul said, for I am now ready to be offered. The time of my departure is at hand. Paul said, I fought a good fight. John fought a good fight. He was a warrior. He was a warrior. He had the Spirit of God leading and guiding and directing him. And it was his joy when he was ministering the word. And John fought the good fight. You and I today, we're still fighting. John has won the victory. Amen. As I was looking at the pictures as they were rolling, I was thinking all of these beautiful sights that John saw and all these beautiful places that he had been. What he was viewing now. What he saw here is no comparison to what he's experiencing now, being in the presence of the Lord. He said, I finished my course. I've kept the faith. John kept the faith. He kept the faith. He finished his course. And I believe he finished it with joy. Yes. It wasn't something that he dreaded, but he did it with joy. Paul said, henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day. John's waiting on his crown now. His work's finished. He's waiting to be crowned. And I like what Paul said. And not to me only, but unto all them also that love his appearing. John certainly loved the appearing of the Lord. I wish I had a lot of the stories that John used to tell, but John wrote a little Irish poem to my wife for her birthday one year. He said, to Lucy, Apple Valley's first lady, he always called her Apple Valley's first lady. And what he always said to me to introduce me, and just whenever I was around him, I can't remember just right off the exact words that he would use, but it was something to the effect of, my precious pastor, which was an honor to me, but to the First Lady. He said, my Irish poem wishes for you that your giving hand never fails and your hinges of love never rust. The roof of your home never falls in, and those within never fall out. May the path to your front door be filled with the fragrance of the rose of Sharon and the lily of the valley, with a wee touch of the green Irish shamrock. And when you pass through those pearly gates and view your eternal home, may it be an hour before the devil knows you're gone. And he signed it, J.C. This was the kind of man that John was, even more so. We miss him greatly. He was such a joy to be around. And there was a few Christmases there at Carolina Village, he would invite our church to come up and have lunch. And while we were having lunch, he would do his Irish stories. And he and May would always welcome us there, and we miss John. And I know May misses John. And John, when he was talk about Sister Margaret, my sweetheart, she was always his sweetheart. And I can understand why. She's a sweet person. Amen. And so, to each of us today, John is in the presence of the Good Shepherd. Yes. He knew the shepherd. He knew the voice of the shepherd. And as Jesus put it, my sheep know my voice and they won't follow another. John knew the voice of the Lord. He would not follow another. And what an example for you and I today to follow in his footsteps. We could do that. And as we honor him today, we can know for a certainty that should we go the way John did, by the way of death, or by the way of the rapture, should it take place while we're still living, we're going to see John again. And we won't see him sick, hurting, but we'll see him in his new body. Amen. And I'm looking forward to that, aren't you? Amen. And what is so good, we won't have to just be there with him for a little while. We can stay as long as we want to, because it's going to be forever. Forever. Think about that. But what a blessing to be John's pastor. It was a great pleasure. But then, as I said before, to sit under his teaching, it was awesome. But then have to preach after all of that. It was scary. Really was. It was scary. But I did the best I could. But John was such a great person. Great person. I'm going to ask Brother Maurice, if he will, to come. I believe John and Maurice were best friends, prayer partners. John always called Brother Maurice his prayer partner. And it's always good to have a prayer partner. Maurice?
Miss Margaret and family, I thank you for letting me be part of this celebration service for Brother John. I count it an honor. And yes, Brother John called me his best friend.